Hello and welcome back to Parish and Pub, a channel I began a year ago in January of 2025. Then it was cold and snowing for the first time in a long time, felt like a new beginning. This year it's warm and rainy and feels like everything's continuing to just kind of drag on. Some things have changed since I began this channel last year, and I wanted to kind of jump on the bandwagon and do a wrap-up of the year and look at some of the videos I put out. And honestly, this is a lot for my own benefit, because I wanted to see that when I began the channel, the thesis I was so confident in, the Parish and Pub model, as I began to call it, that, as you can read on my channel information, that life should primarily be local, that each locale should be ordered around the most crucial of human activities, worship and leisure, and that these activities should mostly be communal, and thus the temple and the tavern, the parish and the pub ought to stand at the center of our lives as life flows out of the holy house of sacrifice and sacrament, filtered through the public house of fare and fellowship, and finally into our daily activities at home and at work and on our adventures abroad. The question is, after a particularly trying year when my own small local parish has had to stop services because we lost our building, and when job loss and financial strain has prevented any regular visits to the couple local restaurants that, are about as close to a proper pub as I can get here, do I still believe in that thesis? I'll answer that at the end of this video, but first I want to revisit the videos that I put out this past year and see if they still make sense to me, since a lot of it was kind of off the cuff and written just before I recorded and posted them. I know that, my first video is when I gave the big picture of what I thought the Parish and Pub model had done to benefit generations past, specifically in Western Europe and early America, and what I thought it could do to heal some of the woes that have come with the cultural fracturing brought about by, I named the religious revolution of Protestantism, the intellectual revolution of modernity, and the technological revolutions of industrialism, and now the digital age. In the following videos, I tried to sort of diffract this main thesis into some of the specific problems that we've had and how a shared communal life of worship and leisure could address those problems. I looked at the loneliness epidemic in my second video, in the form of a React video, because I wasn't sure what kind of format I wanted to do, and decided that React videos not for me or for this channel. But the content was for this channel. It was directly up our alley here, demonstrating that less face-to-face, familial and friendly social interaction has made us all feel lonelier, often angrier, more depressed, more displaced. With the solution, of course, agreeing with the Parish and Pub model being to create more opportunities for communal bonding and strengthening of social ties. In the next video, I took kind of a literary turn by examining figures in Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh, The Hollow Men by T.S. Eliot, and from C.S. Lewis, That Hideous Strength and the Abolition of Man. The figures in these books I examined were all lacking a share in traditional humanity by being completely of their time, and that time being ultra-modern, where their education eschewed classical learning for pragmatism, philosophy for economics, stories for statistics. That made all of these figures highly transient, irreligious, irresolute, instead of what the Parish and Pub model would yield, people who are planted, pious, and purposed. And the reason these figures were important is because I think we've also all had educations where pragmatism and statistics were eschewed for the more classical subjects that would help us to have a share in the classical humanity that we should have inherited. After that came a video tracing the universal intuition about how to meet the divine through sort of its various iterations among pagan examples, but then to the tabernacle and temple specifically of the ancient Hebrews and Jews, and then finally to the late antique and medieval Christian parishes and cathedrals. That transition from universal pagan intuition to the Jewish temple to what I believe is the highest and most perfect form of the communal touchpoint with the divine came via what Christians call the incarnation, or the joining of the divine to the human in a completely new way in the person of Jesus Christ. This was my attempt to firmly establish the importance and the meaning of the parish in the Parish and Pub model. Then I looked at what I think is a really important principle that I think logically derives from the Parish and Pub model, called subsidiarity. It's the principle that prioritizes the most local level in both governmental and economic organization, progressively deprioritizing the more distant regional, state, and federal levels, while at the same time recognizing, their role and usefulness and increasing power and authority as needed. I won't rehash any more of that now, but it's a really sensible and healthy form of social organization, I think, and one that was seen in the Parish and Pub model of olden times. So if you want to know more about that, check out the video linked here. Then I took 3 entire videos. I didn't mean to, but it took 3 videos for me to explore the notion of true leisure, called skole in ancient Greek philosophy and otium in Latin. And this exploration of leisure versus work in these ancient thought systems was expounded by Pieper in his book, Leisure, the Basis of Culture. And the basic gist is that, leisure is, in the classical sense, what allows us to connect with nature, with reality, with the divine, through contemplation, artistry, philosophy, metaphysical experience, communal ritual, worship, and that most work actually in our day is a negation of that positive skole activity and should naturally be valued and esteemed less than the higher ideal of true leisure. My Collapse of Secularism video noted the impotence of this faux philosophy that has no grounding in nature or metaphysics, and I predict that eventually the broad, secular, individualistic, neoliberal order that sort of is at the foundation of most of our politics, both global and unfortunately even closer to home, will be unable to remain as sort of the overarching governing paradigm of the West, because it essentially pretends to be an objective reality for us to live and work in, while yet disbelieving at its core in any objective reality, especially of objective morality. You can't be a universal paradigm while disbelieving in universals, i.e. in objective value. Then halfway through the year, I explored some of those objective values that secularism has to disenfranchise, like beauty, which I explored in this video, patriotism, which, I had to come near July 4th, which I looked at here, and then morality in general and where it comes from, which I explored here. Then my final video of the year was an introduction to the concept of the machine, of modern technological, economic, and societal statecraft. It's the system which assumes and relies on constant expansion, growth in revenue, etc., but completely ignores the fact that all of its components, from the workers to the time frames to the very planet on which it operates, are all finite, limited, exhaustible. It has no concept of equilibrium, restoration, renewal, Sabbath, rest, jubilee. I was admittedly feeling a bit defeated at the time and without a whole lot of optimism during this video, and that feeling kind of persisted through the end of the year, which is why it's been a little over 2 months since making that, and without much else posted on this channel. But here I am now in January 2026. Here we all are. With the disappearance of my local parish and my ability to go regularly to my local pubs, such as they are, do I still believe in my original thesis that the Parish and Pub are the most important institutions and ways to spend our time and energy and means? Yes, I do. Now actually more than ever. Because I feel their lack acutely. I know what benefits and balms they would bring to me. And if me, why not all my neighbors, caught in this modern, secular, technocratic hellscape that bears down on us more and more? And yes, I think the Parish and Pub model, so long-lived as an ideal in our deep imaginations, in our storybooks, our fantasy tales, and our hidden hopes, I think it is as potent and corrective and saving a model now as ever for us. Rich or poor, keen about the idea or kind of on the fence or not fully understanding it, I think any steps any of us can take to enfranchising our local parishes and pubs as central institutions, not merely just options in the open-ended marketplace of choices, we would discover would benefit us all immensely. We need our local parishes and pubs, firstly just to exist, and then to be utilized as weekly and daily anchors of our lives which should become more and more local and communal. That's where our personal humanity will flourish, and we'll find ourselves less as individuals and more as persons, less as cogs in a machine and more as neighbors and citizens, less as atoms in an indifferent universe and more as sons and daughters in the household of a benevolent and omnipotent God. I intend on continuing this project of flying the flag for the parish and the pub, and I pray that you all have a blessed and transformative journey in the year of our Lord, 2026. God bless.